Hi BookTube, it's Gina. Happy Saturday. Let's talk about some books. I thought it would be fun to just chat a little bit about what I read this week, what I'm planning to read in the upcoming week, and do a quick check-in on Book Trek 2022, which sadly in September is not going so well for me. So more on that. So let's get started. What I finished this week is Summer Comes to Albarosa. This is an old Harlequin romance by Iris Danbury. This was published back in 1971. And I'm really loving these old Harlequins. First of all, the covers are just fantastic. The stories are super sweet, cute, low anxiety. There is, of course, a young woman who is having a very early midlife crisis at, I think, 20 or 21. I can't remember exactly how old she is. And so she takes a job managing some villas in the seaside town of Albarosa. And of course there are two men, one bad boy, and romance ensues, and it's just delightful. Very sweet, very, very good story. Now this, I think, comes in at 191 pages. So I'm counting this for Shorty September, and also it's a romance. So I'm also counting this for Autumn Amour, neither of which I'm kind of fully participating in, but both of which are fantastic, and I just love the idea of, so I'm counting this. And then secondly, I finished The Feast. This is set in Cornwall in the summer of 1947, written by Margaret Kennedy, written back in 1950. And I struggled a little bit with the first half of this book. The writing style was fine. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I liked it enough to keep going. But then the plot really kicked in about halfway in, and I read the last half of the book in a day. Last weekend, I plowed through it. I finished it. I loved it. Now, there's one thing about this book, and I'm gonna get into, maybe not spoilers, but something about the structure of this book. So if you don't want to hear anything about the structure of the book, I'm gonna set this down when I'm done, so you can fast forward if you want. But there's one thing about this book that I didn't realize until I read the introduction at the beginning by Kathy Retzenbrink, and I think if I had actually read that first, it would have increased my enjoyment of the book. And that is that the sort of despicable characters in this book are each tied to, or rather caricatures of, the 7 deadly sins. And I think if I had known that going in and was using that as a structure to try and tie things together. There's also something about the naming convention of each of the characters that ties into those 7 deadly sins. I think if I had known that in the beginning, I would have had a little bit more fun trying to figure it out. So I think that's an instance where knowing a little bit would have increased my enjoyment of the book. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it. I didn't love it, but I really liked it. Okay, so those are the 2 books that I finished last week. And then what I am currently getting ready to start today is, the first one is Provincial Daughter by R.M. Delafield. R.M. Delafield, excuse me, not R.M. Delafield, R.M. Dashwood, who is the daughter of E.M. Delafield. Boy, I just totally biffed that one, didn't I? So R.M. Dashwood, Provincial Daughter, who is the daughter in real life of E.M. Delafield, who wrote Diary of a Provincial Lady. Boy, that was not very smooth, was it, Gina? And this is a diary style. And my friend messaged me this morning and said, we have to read this book. It starts on September 10th, the first diary entry. So isn't that fantastic? I am excited to jump into this, and it's got some really fun illustrations, and I'm really, look at that, isn't that cute? So I'm really excited to read this one by R.M. Dashwood, the daughter of E.M. Delafield. And then next, I'm going to start today on The Paying Guests by Sarah Waters. I have been loving Sarah Waters. I haven't read many of her books. Affinity was one of my favorites of last year. And so I'm trying to really read more of her work this year. And I'm going to be doing a buddy read with my friend Elle from Elle Thinks. And we're separating this into 3 chunks. The book is broken into 3 parts. So we're going to read part 1 this week. We're going to read part 2, which is a shorter section, next week. And that is going to be nice for me because I'm going to be on vacation the week of the 19th. And so I will be able to, I won't probably be reading as much as I normally do on vacation, because even though I'm going to Las Vegas and I'm going to be sitting around by the pool all day, I don't read as much as I think I'm going to. And then we'll read the last section at the last week in September. So I'm super excited about this. Have not started it yet, so I don't really know much about it. I've also got it from the library on my Kindle, so I will probably be reading this on my Kindle, to be honest. And then lastly, and sadly, let's talk a little bit about Book Trek 2022. So September for Book Trek is supposed to be Strange New Worlds, where we are reading iterations of the new Star Trek. So Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds. Is there another one? I can't remember because I've literally not watched a single episode. Well, up until this month, I hadn't watched a single episode of any of these. And the more that I think about it, the more I realize I don't really want to watch those series, and I just don't feel that invested in the new Star Trek. So I was going to read Star Trek Picard, The Last Best Hope by Una McCormack, and it looked pretty good, but I saw Steve Donahue talk about this book yesterday or the day before, and he just talked about the new Star Trek in general, and I realized I just cannot muster up the energy or the desire to get involved in these new series. So I don't think I'm going to read this one. I might read some old Trek this month. I might just toss the rules of Book Trek out the window. Because I just, the thing about Star Trek for me that I love so much is the Star Trek philosophy of humanity always improving, being in a better place, working towards progress and perfection in a very uncynical way. The Next Generation was so, and Picard was so morally clear, and I really loved that. And I did a tag last year for Book Trek about the things I love about Star Trek, and it was things like they're not working for money anymore. They are, working to build a better society. And I just don't, I'm not interested in the new Star Trek. Now, I got a free trial of Paramount Plus because I thought I would watch a couple of the new series, and they had a week free trial, and I thought, oh good, I can just blitz through a bunch of episodes. And I watched the first episode of Discovery, and I wanted to stab my eyeballs out with a fork. I did not like it. I did not like it at all. And I thought, I'm not even interested in pursuing. Now, granted, I didn't really give it a fair shake, but I've heard enough reviews to know that it's probably just not going to be for me. So I also watched the first episode of Strange New Worlds, and while I really enjoyed the episode, I didn't recognize any of the characters as far as like their Star Trek characters. It was Uhura, it was Pike, it was Spock, and none of them seemed like their actual selves. It didn't look like a Star Trek show to me. And so I still may watch that one, but it wasn't worth it to me to buy a subscription to Paramount Plus to watch that one series, because I don't think I'm going to watch Picard. I know I'm not going to watch Discovery. I'll probably watch Strange New Worlds when I can get it either for free or it pops up on something that I have access to. But for now, I'm kind of sad about Star Trek because I just don't really want to read any of the new iterations or books about the new iterations. So that may change, but as of right now, I'm gonna kind of put Book Trek Strange New Worlds on the back burner, and I might pick up a original series book for my vacation next week. We'll see. I'll let you know. I'll show you what I'm gonna pack book-wise when I'm getting ready for my trip, and there will probably be a Star Trek book in there. So, all right, well, that is it for me. I am gonna relax and enjoy my weekend, do some reading, and I hope you are too.